What's going on, everybody? My name is Dave McRae. Can you hear me okay? I think you probably can. Sorry about that. A little bit of an audio issue there we had just a few moments ago, but we should be good. We should be rocking, everybody. How is everybody doing? Happy Friday. Yes, Lee Bowers. Happy Friday, bud. Are you going to see Ghostbusters 2020 when it comes out? No. I don't fucking care. I don't care. No, of course. Yes, of course. Yes. Ghostbusters, some images dropped today. Ghostbusters Afterlife with, of course, a teaser poster dropping today. The official trailer, or a teaser at the very least, drops this Monday. So that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. But yeah, I decided to jump on here on this Friday, December the 6th, 2019, 4:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here in Toronto, and I wanted to just kind of say a couple of things. And the holidays are pretty much here, and the year is coming to an end, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And I got to thinking, as I do at the end of every year, what kind of a year it's been for me, maybe what kind of a year it's been for you guys as well. And it's so hard to believe that we are coming to the end of 2019. And, it feels like, I turned 40 this year. I'll be 41 next May. And it's just time. It doesn't slow down for everybody, or it doesn't slow down for anybody, I should say, folks. And I just wanted to say, because the title of this video is Thoughts and Reflections, and I will take your questions. I'm definitely going to take your questions. But I wanted to just take a moment and say that, it's been an interesting ride so far on this YouTube channel, and I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and for making this, for the most part, really fun. And because I've had this YouTube channel since 2006, but I never really began to put my face out there like this kind of thing on the regular until about 2017, when it was announced that they were going to be making another Halloween movie. And I needed some sort of outlet to vent and to express my thoughts and opinions. And I never had a plan. I never had an idea of wanting to grow the channel or anything like that. I just wanted to have an outlet where I can express my thoughts and opinions to those who would maybe find value, or maybe would find them at the very least interesting. And now we're approaching 20,000 subs, and of course that's tiny in the big picture, but it's essentially 19,000 more than I had, a couple of years ago. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who continues to watch and continues to care about what I have to say, because I'm not a movie reviewer, and I leave that to the fine folks that can do it and do it really well. But I'm more of a movie commentator, I guess. But I like to be able to keep this channel open to not everything. Obviously there's a specific identity to it, but I like to kind of just, if I feel something that inspires me, I want to talk about it. If I feel like doing something silly out on the street or in a store or whatever, I want to do it and I want to upload it. You know what I mean? And you guys have appeared to be really receptive to that, which is a lot of fun, because there's more to me than just, talking about Halloween. And I just want to say thanks. I mean, if you're watching now live or if you're watching after the fact, I really do appreciate it. We don't always have to agree, and I'm glad we don't always agree. And I know it sounds like such an overused cliche, but what fun would it be if we all agreed, And the great thing about this kind of thing is being able to connect with you guys and people all across the world. I mean, there's people, no doubt, in the chat room watching me right now from the other side of the planet, and I've been doing this I remember the very first time I listened to myself back. I recorded my voice and I played it back, and it was in the mid 1980s, and I was a young kid, and I had what was called a kid quarter. And it was the kid version of those Panasonic, black tape recorders where you'd hit play and record at the same time, and you had your own mic and, the cassette tape. And my sister brought me home a kid version of that. It was like blue and yellow and green and, and red. And because she knew that I loved to steal my mother's boombox and record myself. And she thought, well, why don't you have your own? So this is probably about, 1986, 1987, somewhere around there. And, so I used to sit down and record myself and pretend I was doing shows. I used to hit play and record. I used to go, hey, folks, how you doing? I mean, I probably wasn't saying, hey, folks, how you doing? But but in the spirit of that, it was that kind of thing. Like, hi, everybody, I'm Dave, and, blah, blah, blah. And I would do funny voices and skits and all that kind of stuff. And then I would play it back to myself, laughing hysterically at myself. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just so silly. But it's amazing to think that if you had told me in 1986 or 87, I mean, obviously I would have been too young to really grasp what it meant. But if you were to say, one day you'd be doing this, talking to people all around the world, I mean, it would seem so weird, like futuristic, like, oh, so you mean I would be like on TV? No, you'd be doing it in the comfort of your home, in your pajamas, in a hoodie. It's like, what? Like, it doesn't even seem real. You know what I mean? So it's just, and then of course, to do what I do for a living and to be able to, to connect with all sorts of people that way. And I've met some great people who are connected to the entertainment industry through my channel. There have been people that have reached out to me that are big fans that have surprised me, the people that I've heard from. And it's just been a really sort of interesting journey so far, and I don't have a plan, and I still to this day don't have a plan. And I don't know if anybody has noticed, but I've never once asked anybody to subscribe to my channel. I've never once asked them to do it. I've never once said hit that notification bell or whatever the case is, and I don't do it because I want to see how I want people to subscribe because they really want to, and not because I'm saying, I'm asking them to. And if that means I never reach 100,000 subs, well, I'm okay with that, because I'm not in this, to actually sort of, I want it to organically grow. I want to see where it goes, and I want to allow this world of YouTube, I want the door of spontaneity to be there, and I want to see sort of where it goes organically, because I think that's really exciting. I mean, I have little plans, like on a sort of a day-to-day level, like, oh, hey, two dudes and some bullshit, here's our plan for this show, or here's my plan for this video, or here's my plan to do this live feed, even though it was an impromptu thing. There's little things like that, but in the bigger picture, I don't have a plan. And that's on purpose, because I want to see where it goes. And because I want you guys to be a part of that journey. Like, we're just on this spaceship in space going like, where are we going? I don't know. Let's just go. Let's just sit in the spaceship together. Let's just turn it on and let's just go and see where we end up. And I think that's really exciting. And so I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who continue to watch and continue to listen and continue to be a part of this journey that I am on. Because, like I said, it's not my full-time job. It's not even my job. Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm making a little bit of money through the super chats, but that goes right back into the channel, right? And of course through Patreon as well, which goes right back into the Patreon thing and allows me to it allows me to schedule these types of things. But it's really interesting, and I'm having a ball doing it. And if it wasn't for you guys watching, well, then I wouldn't be doing this. I mean, what would be the point, right? So I think it's really cool that I've amassed at least this kind of a little following. It's not really big, but it's special and it's important, because I never thought that anybody, not that I never thought, but, you know, when you take the leap to do this kind of thing, you know, I knew that I was opinionated. I knew that I was, you know, a personality. You know, I knew that I had something that I wanted to say, but you never know where it's going to land, right? You put yourself out there and you let the chips fall where they may. And so far, so good. I mean, you know, you get your odd troll and you get, you know, but that's par for the course. I mean, you can't do this kind of thing and glide along without that kind of thing happening. But I would say 98% of the people that watch and the feedback and the comments have just been nothing but positive. And I think it's awesome. Even when we don't agree, right? Like, even when we don't agree, it's like, it's okay, you know, because 98% of the time it's like, hey, Dave, I see what you're saying there, but did you think of this or did you think of that? You know, and that's really cool, you know? So I just want to say too, in addition to that, you know, it's the holidays and this can be a time of year. I know for me, it's bittersweet, because obviously my mom passed away in 2011 and my dad did as well. My parents were not together. They were divorced. They'd been divorced for about, well, I mean, ever since I was about 4 or 5. So I don't really have a memory of my parents actually being together, even though they remained close throughout the years because they had 4 kids. So I do remember them in the same room, obviously. I mean, you know, but they were fine. Like, they remained civil. I mean, it wasn't like a horrible thing. But I know for me, because I don't have a very close family, not that there's anything, like, it's not like we're all at each other's, you know, throats or anything. It's not like there's no animosity or anything like that in our family. We're just not a close family. And I know that when my parents died, you know, that's sort of the foundation that sort of brought us all together, even though we weren't close, sort of has gone away. So, you know, I think about my mom and I think about my dad, and I miss being able to talk to them. You know, it's just being able to talk to them and have that conversation. And I also know that there are people in this world that are not as fortunate as me, and that are not as fortunate as maybe some of you. Maybe some of you watching right now are in a really difficult position, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, whatever the case is. You know, it can be really, really difficult. And I just want you to know that whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is, and I don't pretend to know what that's like, because I don't know what you're going through, but whatever it is, you can get through it. It sounds cliche. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but you do have the power to get through it. You just think baby steps, right? Each and every day. Just take a breath each and every day and surround yourself with people to the best of your abilities that are there, that can understand that their job in these types of situations isn't always necessarily to offer advice or feedback. It can be, of course, but sometimes we need somebody to just listen, to just hear us out, you know. Oh, wait, are we still there? I think we're still there. Yep, we are. I thought we froze for a minute, but maybe not. So I just want to say, whatever it is you're going through, you know, be strong, you know, don't give up, stick with it, whatever it is. And I believe that you will succeed. I believe that you will. You just have to, you know, stay focused, surround yourself with the right people, whatever that is. Maybe it's just one friend, right? You know, and if you don't have anybody, if you don't have too many people in your life, then watch my videos. and maybe I'll be able to cheer you up, or watch somebody else's and maybe they'll be able to cheer you up. The important thing is the point of all this is to just say that it's a time of year where it can be bittersweet for some, sad for others, and really happy for others, and just to stay strong, whatever that is, and to help your fellow friends and your family out, whatever you can. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in, watching, and being supportive of this channel in any way that you can, because we're going to continue to grow it. We're moving into 2020 now. I've got It's Me, Billy on the horizon. I've got Dylan's new Ninghtmare on the horizon. I've just, I'm in the middle of I've signed a few NDAs with things in terms of VO that I can't talk about, that may or may not be big, that I want to, talk about. I mean, there's so many things going on. And I'm glad that you guys are here on this journey with me. I really appreciate it, because to be able to share this with you is exciting in and of itself. So if it's a tough time of year for you, just remain strong. Remain strong. You can do it. Take a deep breath, because it can be really overwhelming. And I understand that. Just take a deep breath, relax, sit down. You got this. You got this, 100%. All right, let's go to the chat room. You guys have been great sitting tight while I had a little bit of reflection there this time of year, because like I said, man, it's not easy for everybody. I think that one last thing I wanted to say, because I sort of strayed off on a bit of a tangent, although it was important. When I was talking about my parents, I know that there are some people in this world. Despite the fact that both my mother and father died for different reasons in 2011, I was very fortunate enough that I had good parents. And I never not knew what my mom and dad thought of me. And although it's not easy, and it does get easier as time passes, but of course, it's never easy that they're gone. What's helped me through these last 8 years is I always knew that they were proud of me. I always knew that they believed in what I was doing in terms of my life and things like that. And when I think of them and I think of being sad, or, maybe it's emotional, I can hear my mom and dad saying, it's okay. Or you got this, you can do this. Or if I'm trying to if I feel bad about giving something away or throwing something out that was my dad's, but I have no, use for it now, or I've held on to it for too long and really it's time to get rid of it, whatever. And I feel sort of guilty about that, right? Because it's a part of them. I can hear my mom saying, oh, for Christ's sakes, would you just get rid of that thing? It's far too old. It's far too old, right? And that is a reflection of the relationship that I had with my parents. And that has helped me through this process. But I know that not everybody is as lucky. And I know that there are people out there right now who have horrible relationships with their parents, who may not even see their parents, who maybe grew up having a horrific childhood, whatever that means. There's a lot of things that could mean. So I just want to say that, if you've made it this far and you are, doing okay, doing well, you should be proud of yourself. You did it. You are a hero, man, for leaving a toxic environment and making something of your life. Even if you're not where you want to be yet, even if you think that you're not where you want to be, you're still a hero because you've been able to remove yourself from a toxic environment. And I just want to say that, we sometimes forget how fortunate we are and how there's other people out there that are struggling. And if you're in that environment, whatever it is, you can get out of it. You can do it. I believe in you 100%. All right, let's look at some super chats here that came in. I really appreciate it, guys. Let's see. Tom Fiera says, can you say OWO? What's this? OWO? What's this? Tom, I'm not, that's got to be a reference to something, but I don't know what your OWO. Am I completely losing it? I'm not sure. Tom, just at me and explain a bit further. Joe Smidjon Jr. Thank you, Joe. Much appreciated. Says, did you see the new Friday the 13th Vengeance 2.0 fan film? I've seen a bunch. I'm not sure. I have seen a bunch of Friday the 13th fan films, especially the ones that have come out recently, because there's a plethora of them online now. So I'm not sure, but I'd have to check it out. Super chat from Nathan Oswald. Thank you, Nathan. Says, Dave, you had more of a plan for your channel than Kennedy did for Lucasfilm. That might be true. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't even imagine being in charge of something like that. That would be unbelievable. Bobby Reeves says, do you think the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot will... They're doing a reboot? A Ninja Turtles reboot? God, why? Do you think the new TMNT reboot will do better if they go back to animatronics? Are you a fan of the... You know what? Will it do better? I don't know, because I don't know. But I will say that, and again, this could be because of my age, but I love, especially that first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film from 1990, I think. Of course, in 1990, I was 11. So it was like right in my wheelhouse, right in my demographic. It was absolutely targeted towards me. And that was an independent film. And I believe that was the movie that dethroned Halloween as the highest grossing independent movie of all time. I believe that was the movie that did it. And then but of course, Halloween was still the highest grossing independent horror film of all time, if you will, until 1999's The Blair Witch Project, I think. So, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I would be down for it. I mean, I don't know if it would do better, because I don't know if I don't know. I mean, I have to admit, I didn't see the Michael Bay ones. I mean, he didn't direct them. He produced them, I believe. But I think he did anyway. Anyways, the ones from a couple years ago, I didn't see them because they just didn't appeal to me. You know, I didn't think they looked very good. So, you know, do I think they would be more successful if it went back to animatronics? I don't know, but I definitely know that guys like me and maybe like you would definitely be on board for the nostalgia for sure. So we'll have to see, though. I'm not sure. Let's see. Zach Axiola says, are there any 3-hour films you can think of that you feel you could have shortened, as well as shorter films you feel could have been longer? P.S. Chocolate Milk is my favorite too. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes, I'm sure if I actually had time to think about it, Zach, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I do know my favorite 3-hour film as of right now. Now, granted, I haven't seen The Irishman yet. My girlfriend and I think, are planning on watching it over the Christmas break. So I haven't seen that yet, but my favorite 3-hour film off the top of my head is probably The Green Mile. I love that movie, but I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it a bit more. I don't know off the top of my head. And I don't want to just say, you know, something for the sake of answering, because I like to be truthful. Jordan Stevenson says, Dave, I suffer with autism, ADHD, short-term memory problems, depression, and I survive on government benefits. And watching your videos brightens up my day. Jordan, I am glad it does. You know, that is some of the best compliments that I get, is because I don't know any of you. And you guys don't really know me either, but you know me in this context. And to see that is great. You know, to be able to affect you in that way, even if it's just a little bit of, not to sound cheesy, but even if my videos are a little bit of sunshine in your, you know, cloudy day per se, I think that's great, you know, and that means a lot. So hang in there. Whatever you're going through, you can do it. You can do it. 100%. Lauren Downing says, the power of positive thinking and Dave McRae videos. Yeah, well, hey, if I'm included in that, that's flattering. Aaron Keller says, much love for those words of wisdom, Dave. Thank you, Aaron. Much appreciated, buddy. Julian, let me see here. Julian Salgado, am I saying that right? Says, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, thanks for the heart to heart. No problem, man. You know, I just think, you know, with this time of year, it can be tough for a lot of people, whether it's emotionally, financially, physically. I mean, physically, it's probably tough any time of year, but I just think that we sometimes forget, and I just want you guys to know, because I don't know if I say it enough, how much I appreciate you tuning in and appreciate just your support by watching and listening to what I have to say. Because again, we don't always have to agree. I don't expect we will. That's not why I did this. I didn't put myself out there because I was looking for people who agreed with me. I put myself out there looking for people who could be like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like, I hear you. That doesn't mean you agree with somebody, right? If you say, I know what you mean, that doesn't mean equals I agree with you. That just means I know what you mean. Like, I totally can see that. And maybe sometimes you don't. You're like, I'm not really sure. I was looking for people that could really sort of, understand where I was coming from, but also because I felt that I had some insights that not a lot of people were talking about. And I was like, I got to get on there and sort of talk about this, and it's just fun. It's so fun to be able to connect with all of you. But it's a tough time of year, and I want you guys to know that whatever you're going through, you can get through it 100%. Let's see here. Aaron Keller says, this is the super chat of Aaron, much words of wisdom from Toronto. Freddie. Yes. Thank you, Aaron. Much appreciated, buddy. Let's see here. Super chat from Chris Baber says, I still can't believe you rented a Ford in California. When we got to we rented from Budget, and I was looking for a Challenger because I'm a Challenger guy. I have a Challenger. And they didn't have any, and all they had actually were Mustangs, and they had either the convertible top or not. And I was like, all right, let's just do it. I mean, I'm there a week. It's a nice car, and I was like, all right, let's do it. So I rented the convertible Mustang. But if they had a Challenger, I would have gone with that, but they didn't. So I sacrificed, Chris. I sacrificed. The Shape Super Chat says, do you prefer a black and white or color version of Rear Window? Trying to think what version I saw. Well, I think the version I saw was color, but it was Technicolor. So I think that's I haven't seen black. I haven't seen Rear Window in black and white. I think the version I saw was color. But now with Psycho, black and white all the way. It feels weird watching Psycho in color. It doesn't feel right. It feels kind of strange. So, but with Rear Window, I've only seen it in color, so I'm going to say color. I don't think I've seen it in black and white. Great question. Tommy Ricknell says, thank you, Dave, for your latest video about the current state of the toxic fandom. Everything has just went into a train wreck. Yeah, no problem. I felt I needed to get on there and just sort of, I think and I'm not going to start into it again, but the crux of my argument is that I just wish people started thinking for themselves. And it's not that we don't watch people. Listen, we're always going to watch people and root for people or read people and that sort of share similar views. But I didn't realize how bad it had gotten because I'm not watching these things all the time, right? Like YouTube's not my job. And so when I'm on there, I'm not always watching pop culture-y things. And I had no idea how bad it had gotten. And I'm somebody that doesn't like The Last Jedi, but I am somebody that really enjoyed The Force Awakens. So, maybe I'm not the best person to ask, but, and it's just sad. It's just sad, and I think I rather watch people and channels that have constructive criticism, that come at it objectively, and you can tell that they're coming at it from an informed opinion standpoint. But then you have all the channels that, it's like, what the hell was that black and white newspaper? You can probably still get it. Weekly World News, was that it? With all the funny headlines like Bigfoot lands on the White House. And like, what the hell was it? Was it Weekly World News? Is that what it was? I think that's what it was. The chat room will let me know. What was that black and white? It was so funny. Anyway, there was a newspaper. It wasn't a newspaper. It was like a tabloid paper, and you could get it. And I don't know if you can still get it, but it was really funny. And it was just, well, there's the National Enquirer. That's true. That's one of the tabloid ones. But there was another one that was like just a fake. It was all in black and white, and it was nothing but it was like the Onion's version of a tabloid paper. Yeah, no. See, the National Enquirer, there's truth built into what the National Enquirer says, and then they exaggerate. This was nothing but fake headlines. Star, yeah, no, it was something. I think it was called Weekly World News. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it was fake shit. All of it was fake. And that's how I sometimes feel, or I felt when I was looking at some of these channels. I was like, this is crazy. Yes, it was Weekly World News. Thank you, Jacqueline McEwen. Yeah, and it was like, this is like, I can't, because it's so slanted that it's hard for me to get on board with what you're saying. And I just found it incredibly sad. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it here, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. If you want to watch that, the video is on my channel. It's about a 38-minute rant, so knock yourselves out. Let's see here. Super chat from Tom Fiera. Do you think the hate Ryan Johnson gets is justified or not? Well, I think, well, it depends. I mean, Ryan Johnson is an extraordinarily talented filmmaker. He is. Unfortunately, he has his style and approach had no business being in the second act of a 3-act play. I just saw Knives Out. Brilliant. Loved it. He's great. Looper was great, in my opinion. Brick, great. The problem is not that Ryan Johnson is a horrible filmmaker. It's that he was left to do whatever he wanted to do. He was just here, go to town. And unfortunately, there's just many things that when you are the second act of a 3-act play, that you can't do whatever you want to do. That doesn't mean that you don't make it your own, but you do it within the confines, within the rules, within the sandbox of this world. And there were a lot of creative decisions that Ryan made, a lot of character development issues and story structure issues that just didn't, it was bleh. It was like maybe if this was your own sci-fi thing, but it was totally, I don't want to go on and on, but because I could, but do I think it's, no, it's not. It's not. Because there are people that feel emotional about it, and it's understandable why, but then you have people that break it down constructively, and they break it down with informed opinions. And then you have, fuck right! And they're sending him death threats, and this, like, it's two sides of the extreme, right? And that is not just, I don't want the guy to die. I mean, that is like real sort of bottom of the barrel, I mean, it just, yeah, no, that is not justified. But to say, hey man, you're a talented dude. What the fuck happened here? Well, I did this, and this, and this. Okay, but here's, that kind of shit I love to listen to. But that other stuff, like death threats and you ruined my childhood and all that, that's just, I can't even, that's just garbage. So the answer is yes, to a point. No of the other dumb, wild garbage. Let's see here. Johnny T says, hey Dave, no hate mail segment in today's AMA. No, I don't. You know what? Ever since I started doing that hate mail, I've received very little of it. I don't know if people just don't want to have their shit said anymore. And I don't call them out on it. I don't mention, them by name, but it's really interesting. I haven't got too many. There's a couple, but I haven't got too many. Kyle Sanford says, hey Dave, are you a James Bond fan? Well, that's an interesting. No, I'm a James Bond fan, but if James Bond, well, I'm not, I don't mind James Bond. He's all right. I think James Bond and James Bond should go head to head. That'd be wild. I'm just messing with you. Are you a James Bond fan? Did you see No Time to Die? I am a James Bond fan. I did see the No Time to Die trailer, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Neil Rook says, what countries of the world have you visited? Not many. Been to the US, obviously, and here in Canada, and I think that's it. I haven't been overseas. And I've just been to the US and here. I have not been overseas. So I am looking forward to being, to actually going one day, because obviously, for those of you that may not know, I'm half British. My mother was born in England. She came to Canada in 1956 when she was 12. So I have roots there. I have family there. So I'd love to go, but I just have not been yet. So only the US and Canada. I know, not that exciting. Let's see. Matthew Roberts says, love your video on Baby Yoda you posted earlier. What's your thoughts on The Mandalorian so far? Yeah, that was funny. I saw everybody doing like music ones, right? And I was like, well, I'm going to do one for my channel because I think that's really funny. So I had a ball doing it. So I thought it was funny. Okay, so I haven't seen episode 5 yet, but I have thoroughly enjoyed the first 4 episodes. My girlfriend and I are going to watch episode 5 tomorrow. And I like it. I mean, it's not overly deep, it's not action packed, but I think what people are liking about it is that it feels like old school Star Wars. So it's practical sets, practical locations, it's dirty, it's gritty, and of course you throw in Baby Yoda, and that just is the icing on the cake. The Mandalorian, actually, I would say that I feel sort of neutral about. I was expecting the Mandalorian, I mean the character, Mando, the main guy, I was expecting him to be more of a badass than he actually is. Now, he's still a badass. I mean, it's not like if I met him in a dark alley, I'd be like, let's fucking go. No, he'd probably kick the ever-loving shit out of me. But I expected him to be more, he's gotten his ass kicked quite a bit. And I hear that he gets his butt kicked again, although I'm sure he resurges and, but I hear he has a bit of a butt kicking again in episode 5. So now maybe this is Favreau's way of sort of showing that there's vulnerability here and that he's human for all intents and purposes, and that, he's tough and he wins, but he also struggles, which of course I get it. I totally get it. But I was surprised at the level of butt kicking that he's received. So Mando, I feel kind of neutral about. I'm like, yeah, he's cool. He's cool. But I mean, there's no doubt that Baby Yoda has stolen the show. And it's a slow burn. It's very slow. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that they're really milking this development, which is cool. And I'm curious to see where it goes, but it hasn't really broken out yet. I mean, episode 4, with, the ATST and the whole village and stuff. I mean, that was the, the most action we've seen essentially. But story-wise, it really still hasn't broken out yet. And I'm waiting for it to bust out. And there's only like three or 4 episodes left in the first season. So I'm like, are we gonna, it feels very small, very small. That's not a criticism in the sense that it's an awful show. No, I'm really enjoying it. But I don't think people are enjoying it for the story, because what is the story so far, right? Like we're still sort of discovering that. I think people are enjoying it because of Baby Yoda. I think people are enjoying it because it feels old school Star Wars. It's got that gritty, practical sort of mature. It's very mature tone to it. And I think that's what people are really enjoying with it so far. But the story is still yet to be determined. I mean, we're still sort of discovering this. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. It's not blowing me away, but I'm certainly enjoying it for what it is. And my girlfriend is too, which is great, because she's not really a Star Wars fan, but she's enjoying this. So that's always fun when we can sort of, connect and watch a little bit of ST. That's Star Wars, in case you didn't get it. Okay. Let me see here. Just want to go back, make sure I didn't miss any super chats. The Shape. Yes, okay. The Shape super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, most disturbing, hard to watch film you've seen. Most disturbing, hard to watch film I've ever seen. I would say, I don't know. Do you mean psychological? Well, obviously it would be psychologically. I don't know. I'm pretty psychologically tough. I can watch a lot of things. But I would say that I think, of course, in retrospect, if I was to watch it now, I might feel differently. But I do remember, and I'm just saying this because it's the first thing that came to my head. I'm not saying this because it is exactly true. I'm just saying it because, I kind of remember that being hard to watch, but it's not like I turned off the film or anything. I remember watching Hostel for the first time, and it was like Saw, but on steroids. And Hostel, I think, was 2005, I think? I remember renting it from the video store, so the video stores were still around. And I remember that movie. I remember going, ooh, yeah, ooh. Actually, two other movies that I just recently watched, I can't believe this totally fell out of my brain. I just recently watched these. Why, I don't know. I guess I just wanted something to watch. I recently watched the remake of When I Spit on Your Grave and its sequel. And both of those movies at times were tough to watch. Not like, oh my God, but the practical effects of the torture in those movies were really well done. And the sound design for those movies in terms of the torture, I don't know why I said it like that. The sound design. I don't know why I said it like that. The sound design for, I guess I was emphasizing it. The sound design for those films was really good too. So I would say Hostel and the two I Spit on Your Grave films. But I can't think of a movie that I remember turning off The Grudge Part 2 from like 2005 or 6 or whatever it was, because I thought it was a dog shit show. I'm watching, I'm like, this is absolute garbage. So I just turned it off. But that wasn't because I found it disturbing or anything. Good question, though. Good question. Let's see. Amar Allergic. Am I saying that right? Probably not. Hey, Dave, love your channel. Any plans for the channel on Friday the 13th coming up? No plans. I know that Blumhouse's Black Christmas remake opens that day. But other than that, I don't have any plans, but we'll see. I'm no immediate plans. Anyway, let's see. DMT Infinity says, call yourself whatever you want, homie. I'm a homie now. But your content is more unique than one single label. You are Dave McRae, one of my top 3 favorite YouTubers ever. And as a content creator, you are my idol. Wow. Well, that's a big thing I need to live up to now. I really appreciate you saying that. That's really cool. That means a lot. And if you find value in the rants and the videos that I upload, then I think that's awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Vegas Courier says, Dave, if you've seen the Sonic trailer, what do you think of the conspiracy theory of the first terrible Sonic design and the trailer being on purpose? No. I don't buy into it because I don't believe a studio would then turn around and spend millions of dollars to then redo Sonic. I don't buy into that at all. I think that was what they wanted. And if there wasn't the backlash, they would have gone with it. But because of the backlash, they decided to change it, which is almost unheard of. I was surprised that they did. But the studio, for whatever reason, I think believes in this project and really wants this to do well. And so they actually spent the money. I mean, it cost them a pretty penny to go in and change everything, every frame. That's not like that's why it took months, and no doubt millions of dollars. So no, I don't buy that at all. Tom Fiera, super chat. Thanks, Tom. Says, do you think let me try that again. Do you think we'll be even more of a shithole in the new films than in the 2018 film, like his killings being slightly more crueler? Are you talking about Halloween? Do I think that the kills in the new film will be crueler than the killings? Yes. If that's what you're asking. Sorry, Tom. It's hard to sort of decipher that, but yes, I do. Yes, I do think that they are going to take it up a notch, because it's the sequel, and I think and it's called Halloween Kills. So yes, I do think you're going to get some nifty, interesting kills that that are going to make you go, whoa, holy crap. Let me see. Scrolling, just making sure I didn't miss any super chats. I don't believe I did. Excuse me. Tyler Davis says, what's the most crucial change that would have made a movie much better? Well, I mean, it depends on the movie, right? I mean, there isn't one single change that you can apply to everything that would make any movie better, because you have to remember that what is wrong with a movie is very circumstantial. Sometimes it's the plot. Sometimes it's the pacing. Sometimes it's the effects. Sometimes it's that person just was not the right person for the job. They needed to cast somebody else. So it's very circumstantial. So yeah, it's just not one thing. Very generous super chat comes in from Joe Smidjon Jr. Thank you very much, buddy. Really appreciate that for supporting the channel like that. What's your opinion on the Invisible Man and the Grudge remake trailers? Well, the Invisible Man trailer looks really interesting. Now, again, trailers, we've seen great trailers to bad, or we've seen bad movies that had great trailers and great movies that had. No, let me try that again. We've seen bad movies that had great trailers and great movies that had bad trailers. I think I said that right. So, take it with a grain of salt, but the trailer looks really interesting. And I like Leigh Whannell, I think, right? I think he's learned a thing or two on his own by working with James Wan on the Insidious films. And although Insidious Chapter 3, which was directed by Leigh, who was also directing The Invisible Man, although I wasn't crazy on Insidious Chapter 3, I really missed, that's a whole other thing. I wasn't crazy on it, but it wasn't the shit show I thought it was going to be. It wasn't. I actually was like, this is not bad. This is actually a serviceable sequel. Not nearly as good as the original, but I thought it was serviceable. And Upgrade, which I think was Leigh's film as well, was actually pretty good. So I think he's talented. And the trailer looks interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. The Grudge remake trailer, I don't know. I mean, again, I got a bad taste in my mouth because the first Grudge was like, whatever. And the second one I thought was garbage. So, and I know that this isn't a exact remake or reboot from my understanding. I believe they are, it's in the, I stand to be corrected, but isn't this its own, like it's a remake for all intents and purposes, and it's a reboot for all intents and purposes, but isn't it like taking place somewhere else? It's like The Grudge is continuing on, but it's a different location, or anyway, I read something to that effect, and the trailer looked kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know, I'm more interested in seeing The Invisible Man than I am The Grudge. Let's just put it that way. Jeff Nelson says, hey Dave, do you think Carpenter will ever throw in his hat and give us another film and or maybe a TV movie, miniseries, or just stick to a score and behind the scenes? Thoughts? Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of info there, Jeff. I think the probability of Carpenter doing a full-length feature film again is highly unlikely. I think it's possible that somebody like a Blumhouse or an A24, like some independent production company, although Blumhouse really isn't an independent production company anymore, but somebody who specializes in creating low-budget horror movies. I think it's possible. Like if somebody said, John, we got this idea, this movie, it's 1 or 2 locations, $5 million budget. What do you think? We want you to do it. Maybe, but he's not going to come back and do like a like a Big Trouble in Little China or They Live, where, he's got to travel and, it's sets and multiple locations and big crew, and he's done. I think it's possible he could come back and do a 1 or 2 location, low budget, independent horror movie, like a Hush kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I totally see him doing that level of a movie again. Or a miniseries. I think it's possible. But I think it's likely that we've seen the last of that, and that he will settle into maybe directing an episode of TV and just sticking to scoring his music. I think that's likely where we'll see him for the rest of his career. And I'm okay with that. He's happy. Tom Fiera Super Chat says, what got you into making films? For me, it was the OG Godzilla 1954 film and Halloween 1978. Well, let me preface by saying, of course, I have yet to make a full-length feature gigantic movie. I've just made my little sort of Halloween shorts. It's Me, Billy, actually, is going to be one of the first full-on professional films that I do, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Full-on, like, we're talking like, Never Hike Alone, Dylan's new Ninghtmare level of production value. I mean, we are approaching this in that same manner, and I couldn't be more excited about it because obviously we have the resources to do it. We're going to launch an Indiegogo campaign next year to get you guys on board and to be a part of it, of course, and we just can't be more excited about this. And there's something that I'm still nervous about that I haven't solidified yet, but I'm really hoping I can, because, you guys will lose your minds over it, especially if you're Black Christmas fans. But anyway, so, and then, of course, I have a feature-length film that I have been writing for years, which is a major, major film that if I only make one major feature in my life, this would be it, because it's a personal thing. Obviously, I hope to make more, but if I only do get a chance to make one, that would be it. But what got me into filmmaking? Because, I've always been a movie fan. I've always been a fan of movies ever since I was a little kid. I was that kid, like a lot of you were, that was just obsessed with movies and making home movies with my friends and, all that kind of jazz. And then I went to school for it. I studied film in college and made my own little shorts there, shooting on 16 millimeter. I wonder if they still do that now. I don't know. Do they? I'm not sure. I think I froze there for a minute. But that's what I did. And then I left college to pursue acting, because obviously I'm very much into the acting. And in case you guys haven't noticed, I'm a little theatrical from time to time. So I really enjoy being in front of the camera and performing and acting. And I started out in the early 2000s doing commercials and docudramas and bit parts and things like that. And then I got into voiceover, which I've been doing pretty much my whole life anyway, by recording my voice. And I had my own show on the college radio. Was it the college radio station? Yeah. It was the college radio station. I had my own show on there, 90.1 The Heat or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so I've always been using my voice and that kind of stuff. And then the voiceover side just took off. And that's what sort of got me into the entertainment industry on a professional level. And but I still kept the creative juices in terms of making little movies and that kind of stuff and experimenting and stuff. But It's Me, Billy, I couldn't be more excited for, because this is I can't wait for you. So in a nutshell, that's sort of what it was. I've always been a movie fan. I was one of those kids that loved movies, watched movies, made little movies, and then I went to school for it. And here I am. And, the rest is history. Filthy Dan, why are you so filthy? Filthy Dan says, hey Dave, love the channel. Thank you, buddy. What's your favorite De Niro role? Not necessarily favorite film, but favorite De Niro role. Ooh, that's really good. Man, I gotta say maybe Midnight Run with Charles Grodin, I think. Yeah. That's a funny film. I also love the 2000 movie with him and Edward Norton, The Score. That movie was actually shot up here in Montreal. The Score. Really like that movie too. I like how you phrase that too. Not necessarily what would be considered by the masses his best role, but your favorite, right? Like kind of how like my favorite Indiana Jones is the Temple of Doom. But there's no question that Raiders is the best Indiana Jones film, in my opinion. I love that movie. Love Raiders. But for some reason, I just really enjoy watching The Temple of Doom. Although I can say I've enjoyed watching Raiders more and more now. It's almost like they're neck and neck. Not that I didn't enjoy it before, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So I would say, yeah, probably The Score and Midnight Run. But there's so many. There's so many really good ones. Super chat from Jason Nike. Thanks, buddy. Dylan's new Nightmare crossing 40,000. Congrats. Well, it crossed 40,000 Canadian, right? American, it's about, I think it's just over 30,000. But yes, it did cross. I know the discrepancy of the US and the Canadian dollar is incredible. You can now see why Hollywood likes to shoot up here, because it's cheaper. Yes. And thank you. I'm really excited about it. It means that we are going to be able to actually shoot the full film. So that is exciting, because it was touch and go there for a while, because Cecil said that, if we only can raise 15 or 16,000, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to shoot the whole movie because it's a $40,000 budget. The script is a $40,000, short film, and it would be doing a disservice to me, to Miko, to you, to them, to the fans, to everybody, to try and shoot a $40,000 film with $16,000. It's just not gonna work. So I'm so happy and thrilled that it now looks like they're going to be able to do it. Now there's still about a week left. They've just crossed $30,000. Hopefully they can get a bit more, but it looks like they might be able to squeeze it out, which is really exciting. So, I'm really excited about it. Big G says, Rambo Last Blood scene was sick. Rambo Last Blood last scene was sick. What did you think? I still haven't seen the movie yet. I still haven't seen it, Big G. Still haven't seen it. I still gotta see it. The Manhammer AR-15 says, Sir Dave, in your most humblest of humble opinions, I love how you always phrase those things. How did it feel to be a millionaire? Oh, you mean from the thing that I posted when I said that I've finally been called a Disney shill. Thank you, Disney, for the $400,000 check. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I was making fun of the people that had called me a Disney shill because I uploaded a rant talking about the toxicity that exists in the world of Star Wars fandom. So I thought that was kind of funny. Slasher in Suits, I like that, says, you're Canadian? I am Canadian, right here in Toronto, Canada. Roy Dreyer Gino says, Dave, you ever see the Fritz Lang classic M? I don't know. Would you like a dark, grimy 7-esque remake of that? More of a movie tightly based on? I think Fincher or even now Flanagan would kill that. I'd have to see M before I could answer that truthfully, but I mean, I'm down with seeing anything Fincher does. I've loved most of his movies, and it's too bad he doesn't make more, because he's one of those guys that makes one and then he disappears for like 7 or 8 years, which is not bad, which is fine with me. I mean, look at Kubrick, right? I mean, let me see here. Did I miss any super chats? Want to make sure I get them. I think I've got them all. I think I have. Yes. It's Friday afternoon. Hopefully you guys are having a nice Friday. Chastity Smith says, at Dave, haven't seen it yet, but what do you think of the Mr. Rogers' A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood? Do you have any expectations? I heard Tom Hanks NAU. I'm not sure what the abbreviation for NAU is. But, nailed it. Gotcha. Well, I haven't seen it yet. I still haven't even seen the documentary about Mr. Rogers. So not that you have to see the movie, not that you have to see that to see the film, but I would love to see both. And I love Tom Hanks. I mean, Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors of all time. So I am really looking forward to seeing it. But I haven't seen it yet. So I'm just as excited as you are. E_S18 says, Dr. Dave, what do you think about your Fridays? What do I think about my Fridays? My Friday has been not too bad today, actually. I had some voice work this morning, and then I had a bit of the rest of the day off. So I feel, which is why I decided to jump on here and talk to you guys on this Friday afternoon. And I hope you guys are doing well. And I just want to say, in case I don't get a chance to do it before the Christmas break, that I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you are celebrating this time of year. I hope you do it with friends and family, and just take a moment to be thankful that we're all alive. I mean, it's a crazy world out there, guys. And at any moment, any one of us could go. It's insane if you think about it, really, at the end of the day. And so I'm just glad that we're still here. We're still kicking. And I think it's awesome that you guys are supporting the channel in the ways that you are. Big G says, is Harrison Ford too old to play Indiana Jones? I'm starting to lean that way. And it's unfortunate because, 11 years ago, when Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, I didn't think he was at all. I thought he looked great, and the movie played into it. His age was not the problem with that film. There were a lot of issues with that movie. A lot of issues. Now, my God, he's going to be 8 next year? It feels like the verisimilitude of this 78-year-old guy running around, globe-trotting across the planet and not getting the shit kicked out of him just seems very hard to believe. So I think if they were to do a 5th Indiana Jones movie, I don't want them to use I guess they could use de-aging technology, and then through the whole movie it's like we're watching a 60-year-old. But I mean, maybe they turn it into a spy thriller where his physicality isn't so reliant. It's more about his wit, his wisdom, his smarts, and his charm, rather than the physical nature of Indiana Jones. But then, is it really Indiana Jones? A big part of Indiana Jones is the physical spectacle. The swashbuckling, leaping, jumping, sweat, blood, punching. And I just don't know if at this age now I'll be able to buy into it. If they go ahead with it and if they greenlight it, I'm going to be really curious to see what they do, because Harrison Ford is my favorite actor of all time. I'm going to be devastated when he leaves the planet. Oh my God. Probably more than any other actor of all time. I just think that maybe it is time to look for another Indiana Jones. And I've always thought, although even he, I think, is 50-something now, I've said this from the very beginning, and no one else has really said it. I know people are, saying, what about that, what's his name from the Marvel film, whatever. And I'm just like, no, they said his name because he was hot and up and coming, and and somebody happened to Photoshop his head on Harrison Ford's body. And I think a great Indiana Jones, the guy who has the physicality, the guy who doesn't seem like a jock. What the hell is the guy's name? Why am I brain farting on his name? The guy that is the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy. No. The main guy in Guardians of the Galaxy, Jurassic World. They photoshopped his head on Harrison Ford's body, and everybody lost their mind and thought, he's the next Indiana Jones. Yes. What the fuck's his name? Chris Pratt. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Roy Dreyer Gino. I have nothing against Chris Pratt, but he's a little too jockey to me, a little too boyish to me. And that's why when everybody's like, him, I was like, no. There was a maturity about Indiana Jones, even though when Harrison Ford first played him, he was like, he was my age. He was like 40, 41 or something like that, or 39 actually. I've always thought an actor who would make a great Indiana Jones would be Hugh Jackman. He's got the charisma. He's got the wit. He's got the charm. He's got the comedic timing. He's got the physicality. I totally could believe it. Him in the role. 100%. And I could totally believe that he was a university professor back in the 1930s or whatever. There's something about Hugh Jackman that I totally could buy it. And I could see him in the fedora and the hat, and the looks and things like that, and getting all the ladies and getting himself into, crazy situations with the physicality and the booby traps and the this and the that. And I believe he's a good enough actor that would give justice to the character, make it his own, but you could look at him in the role and go, I believe that's Indiana Jones. Yep. It's not Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is always going to be my Indiana Jones because I grew up with him, right? It's like some people's James Bond is always going to be Sean Connery. As if you're young, James Bond will always be maybe Daniel Craig. But when you look at Daniel Craig and you look at Sean Connery, they're different, but you can see that, oh yeah, Daniel Craig is totally James Bond. And that's what I think. I think Hugh Jackman could have done that. He's 50, 51 now, I think, or something like that. He's still in great shape. I think even at his age, you could get an Indiana Jones trilogy out of him if you were to do like one, wait 2 or 3 years to two, but they're probably going to want to go somebody younger. Somebody in their late 20s, early 30s is probably what's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel anyway. That's how I feel. All right, we'll go for a little bit longer. Let me see. Did I miss any super chats? I don't think I did. I did not. Okay. I don't wait. Did I? Okay. Tom Fiera says, thanks, buddy. Much appreciated. What was the sound if real is very disturbing video? What was the sound if real is very disturbing video? What was you mean the sound? No. No, I just mean that. Okay. I see what you're saying. Well, the sound design in any sort of, exploitative torture porn kind of movie, whether it's Hostel or I Spit on Your Grave, the sound design is often just as important, if not more important. I mean, it's important in any movie, period. But especially when you're doing like a movie where it's gratuitous violence and maybe you're like pulling somebody's tooth out of their mouth, you want to have that kind of sound, right? Even though pulling a tooth out of a mouth, if you would actually do it, it probably wouldn't make that sound. But for the sake of the audience and really getting the audience to go, oh, fuck, that's what I mean. Like things like that, all that kind of stuff. Woo! Can give you the heebie-jeebies if the sound designer's good. Darren Sands is in the house. Tom Hardy is a bloody thug. Not right for Indy at all. Did somebody say Tom Hardy? Yeah, I don't think Tom Hardy would make a very good Indiana Jones. I think Hugh Jackman would. Again, I'm not necessarily saying he would now. I mean, not that he's old, but I think the studios, Lucasfilm would probably want to go younger. But I think Hugh Jackman possesses all the attributes that you would want in an Indiana Jones. He's handsome. He's debonair. He's physically fit. Even when he's not working out for Wolverine and he's not like, shredded to the gills, he's just his natural self. He's in good shape. He's tall. He's funny. He's, got good comedic timing. He's got all the attributes that you would want, in an Indiana Jones type of person. Ryan Reynolds says, Damba, maybe, but I think the thing that Ryan Reynolds has going for him and against him is Ryan Reynolds. He's very charismatic, very electric when he's on screen, but he's got that Ryan Reynolds personality, where he'll be like, well, yes, that's what I thought. Like he's got He's got a shtick to his humor. That doesn't mean that he can't play serious, but I think people would have a hard time believing him as Indiana Jones and not seeing past Ryan Reynolds. Do you know what I mean? I think Jackman is more neutral. You know, Ryan Reynolds is very Ryan Reynolds, which is a good thing, you know, but Indiana Jones, I'm not so sure. Hugh Jackman, I've always thought it. Let's see, a couple of super chats came in. David Coe, thank you, David, says, Dave, I know you don't have any kids, but if you had a son, what do you think you would name him? What do I think I would name him? That's a great question, a question I've never been asked. I don't know. I know definitely I would not name him something that is of the times. You know, yeah, I don't know. You know how there's all these weird, unusual names that people are naming their kids now? I wouldn't do that. It would just be a regular name, but it wouldn't be an old-fashioned name because I wouldn't want them to get teased either. You know, like I'm not going to name my kid Earl. Now, if I had a son, I might put his middle name as Earl in honor of my father because my dad's name was Earl, but I certainly wouldn't put that as, you know, as his first name because that's kind of an old-fashioned name now. It's got a stereotype to it of being, hey man, my name's Earl, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But just maybe a regular name. I don't know, Peter, Mike, Stephen. I don't know, maybe something a little more, you know, with a little more, you know, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but nothing too out there. Let's just put it that way. More just regular, you know, like David, you know, Kyle, Kevin, you know, something like just. I don't know. I've never really thought about it, but I do know it wouldn't be like weird. Tom Fiera again. Thank you, Tom. Much appreciated. Says, I was referring to one of your earlier vids about the people hearing strange sounds and disappearing. One of my earlier vids, people hearing strange sounds and disappearing. What video was that, Tom? I do so many that I'm just not hearing strange sounds. I was referring to one of your earlier vids about the people hearing strange sounds and disappearing. I was talking about people that were hearing strange sounds and then disappearing. I'm so sorry, man. I really appreciate you reaching out that way for the super chat. I'm not quite sure the context of what you're saying. I do so many that you'll just have to be a little more specific. Sorry about that, man. Let's see here. Ba-dum-bum-bum. And again, folks, if I don't answer your question or get to it, it's nothing personal, of course. There's just a lot of people in the chat room, and sometimes it's difficult to get to everybody, which obviously it is. So it's never personal, folks. Never personal. Let's see. Smith's Grove says, I like Bradley Cooper, but I feel he's too young. Bradley Cooper, too. Yeah, I think so, too. I mean, you know, let's not forget, Harrison Ford was 39 when he shot Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was in his early 40s when he did Temple of Doom and approaching 50 when he did Last Crusade. He was like 47 or whatever it was. No. Yeah, 47. So even though he was 39 when he shot Raiders, 38, 39, that's really close to 40. So for all intents and purposes, Harrison Ford has been, you know, throughout the Indiana Jones film, the original films, he was a 40-year-old guy. Even though he was like 38, 39, you know, in Raiders, he's essentially 40, right? So so I don't want to see like a 25-year-old Indiana Jones. I mean, this isn't Spider-Man here. I want to see somebody who is young enough, but old enough at the same time to possess a certain level of maturity and wisdom in a position that he's in. I don't want to see a 28-year-old. I mean, fuck, listen, I'm only 40, but I think back to when I was 28. You know, I mean, come on, right? There has to be a certain level of wisdom that this actor has, that this character has, excuse me. So, yeah. Bradley Cooper is 44. Well, he's the right age then. He's the right age. Bradley Cooper's not a bad choice. He's not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. Not bad. I mean, I certainly, you know, I wish they would have gone with Hugh Jackman, but, you know, I don't know. Super chat Tom Fier says, your second ever video. Oh, my second ever video. God, I don't even remember what video that was. I'd have to go back and have a look. I'm not sure, man. So sorry about that. My second ever video. That's got to be a video that's like 15 years old. Big G says, is Kyle Richards going to benefit? Is Kyle Richards going to benefit? I assume you mean from Halloween Kills. Well, yes, of course. She's getting paid to be in the movie. Of course she's going to benefit. 100%. Joe Smidjon Jr. says, Chris Evans as Indiana Jones if they reboot. I think Chris Evans, well, I mean, you know, maybe. I was about to say that he's too identified with another character, but then again, Harrison Ford was identified as Han Solo as well, which was one of the reasons why Lucas didn't want to use him as Indiana Jones. Chris Evans is still young, but I will say that he does possess a certain charisma. Yeah, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Your Chris Evans, your Bradley Coopers, your Hugh Jackmans. I'm just saying, like, that's the right ballpark that you got to look in, right? This, that debonair, that swashbuckling, but yet serious, but yet handsome, but yet that's right. And not that Chris Pratt doesn't possess those things. I just think that he's a little too jockish for me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the roles that he's played. He's a little too, but maybe that'll change in time. I don't know. But I certainly was team Hugh Jackman, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think he's too old. E_S18 says, Sir Dave, do you ever plan to meet Tony? Yes. 100%. Definitely. We will definitely meet each other one day. Just looking at the super chats, make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't believe I did. Okay. We'll go for another 10 minutes or so. Make it a 90-minute AMA till about 6:00. And then I'll wrap it up. Because I'm kind of hungry and I want to go eat some dinner because I plan on going for my run tonight. So I want to eat dinner, have some time to, let it digest and then go for my run. Let's see here. Super chat just came in from Anthony Stanfield. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. Says, tell me your honest opinion on how you think Halloween Kills will turn out. Well, I don't know. But I don't know because I haven't seen the film. I suspect that, the style is going to be very reminiscent of the style that we got in H-18. It's the same director. It's the same producer. Is it the same DP? I'm not sure, but I think that now that the cat is out of the bag and they don't have to, even though I don't think they did really at all, which was one of my criticisms, they don't have to worry so much about Carpenter's film because they're no longer making a sequel to that movie. In some roundabout way they are, because it's still connected to the original film, but they're making a direct sequel to the 2018 film. So now they just have to worry about that, essentially. And even though they're going to dive into the mythology of the original film, of course. But I think with a title like Halloween Kills, and this being the second film, I think expect things to be amped up. Expect it to be gorier. Expect it to be more violent, more intense. That's what I expect. I suspect that people are probably going to like this movie more than the 2018 film. And I suspect that because psychologically, there is the anticipation of doing a sequel to Carpenter's classic no longer exists. So now you kind of know what to expect from David Gordon Green and company. So you sort of know what to expect going in. And I think that people are going to like this movie more. That doesn't mean that it is a better movie. I just think that that people are going to be more accepting of this movie, is what I suspect. But we'll see. We'll see, man. I don't know. Let me see here. Filthy Dan. I love Filthy Dan. Dan, what makes you so filthy? Dave, how would you do Halloween 4 as an anthology? How would I do Halloween 4 as an anthology? I'm not... Halloween 4 is part of the Michael Myers canon. Do you mean Halloween 3? I'm not quite sure what you mean there, Dan. How would I do Halloween 4 as an anthology? But Halloween 4 is already part of the of the Michael Myers canon from the original film. I'm not quite sure what you mean. At me, Dan, and just give a little more context. Let me see. Christian Kyle, says, I'm worried about Halloween Kills, to be honest. Well, who knows? I mean, my expectations are that it will be like the 2018 film, just a little more intense and more, because it's called Halloween Kills, and of course they have to be able to deliver on, but I think I will like it more because okay, so this is what they're doing. Okay, all right, and I can enjoy it for what it is rather than what I think they should have done. Anthony Stanfeld, super chat again. Thanks, buddy. Much appreciated. Says, do you think DGG, David Gordon Green, learned from his mistakes? I think so. I think, yes. That doesn't mean that, well, it depends. What he considers a mistake, you may not. And what you or I consider a mistake, he may not. So, but do I think he's learned from the mistakes that he considers mistakes? Yes. Do I think that he sees eye to eye with some of the criticisms that I had, or maybe that you had, or that some people had? I don't know. I have no idea what he thinks of that. I don't know. So I'm not really sure. It's a good question. We'll soon find out, man. Okay. Super chat came in from Tom Fiera. Says, would you consider Nick Castle the Kane Hodder of the Halloween films? Well, I mean, in some way, yeah. I mean, in some roundabout way, yes, because he's the most, but it's different though. You see, that's an interesting loaded question. Kane Hodder is not my favorite Jason. My favorite Jason is Ted White and Richard Brooker. But Kane Hodder, because he was in the most Friday the 13th films, is arguably the most recognizable because of the films he was in. But you also could make an argument that he, ironically, even though he appears to be the most beloved by a lot of Friday the 13th fans, he was arguably in the worst Friday the 13th movies. I mean, he was in Jason Goes to Hell. He was in Jason X and Jason Takes Manhattan and, The New Blood, which, I mean, I know some people like, I don't think it's a very good film at all. So even though he played him four times, I guess, or 4 or 5 times, he wasn't he was in the worst of the worst. Whereas Nick Castle was in the best, arguably. And I think Nick Castle, he's the most popular because he was that, right? Nick Castle is the most popular because he was in the best and everybody loved the way that he played him the best. Whereas with Kane Hodder, there's more variables. There are some people that like him the best because the way he played him, but I think most of the popularity that Hodder gets is that, but also because he was in the most films. Yeah, I should dive into a video on that because I'm really not happy with the way I answered your question. So I'm sorry about that because it's a bit different. But to answer your question as simply as possible, yes, I think it's true, but for very different reasons. Very different reasons. Super chat from Chris Baber. Please watch The Righteous Gemstones. It's a David Gordon Green, Danny McBride show, and it's amazeballs. Ask anyone. All right. I've never heard of it, but I'm definitely going to check it out, Chris. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Much appreciated. That's hilarious. Let me see here. Kenny _525 says, hey, Dave, most overrated horror. I don't know. Well, I can tell you, I'm not going to say that this is the most overrated horror film of all time. I don't think that's fair. But I can certainly tell you that when I saw A Quiet Place, I thought that was the most overrated horror movie or film that year. I mean, that was getting rave reviews, like 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes. It was arguably, one of the best movies of 2018. And when I sat down to watch it, I was like, this is it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I'm just saying in comparison to the praise it was getting, I was like, this is it. And there were so many things in that film that I just did not believe at all. If you want to know my thoughts on that, because it would take way too long to go into, there's a video on my channel where I talk about that. Just YouTube Dave McRae, A Quiet Place, and it's a video where I talk about A Quiet Place and Bird Box in the same video. Watch that, and I go deep into why I didn't like, why I just was disappointed with A Quiet Place. I didn't believe in the characters. I didn't believe that these characters would make these incompetent decisions. In order to justify the movie going on and the story continuing, the characters had to make incompetent decisions that I don't believe you would make in that kind of a situation for the story to... Anyway, it's a whole thing. It's just... So that, I think, was overrated. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's very overrated. Most overrated horror film of all time? Not sure. I'd have to think about that a bit more. All right. Howard D says, I think Kane was a great Jason in some bad movies. I think there's an argument to be made there. For sure. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me here on this AMA. It's 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to go get something to eat because I'm kind of hungry, but I just want to finish off by saying have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate this time of year. It's not that you're not going to be hearing from me, but in case I don't get a chance to say it between now and the end of the year on a video, I do want to say it now. I want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you for watching and tuning in, even when we don't agree. I think that's fun. And thank you for your continued support each and every month. Or each and every month to my patrons, of course, and also each and every video to all of you. And remember, whatever you're going through, because I know the holidays can be a real tough time of year for some people, whatever you're going through, if you're going through tough times, emotionally, physically, psychologically, whatever it is, you can and will get through it. Listen to me. You can and you will get through it. 100%. My name's Dave McRae. Guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.